So we came here and we took over the PABST Theater, and it was doing $308,000 a year, something like that. It was losing $1.5 million a year, and we moved from that.
We've pivoted. We started in California in 2022 in like the regulated cannabis market and realized that nobody who was walking into a dispensary wanted a low-dose drink, and we thought, oh my God, what are we gonna do? And so then this whole, like this hemp drink thing, we're like, okay, great. We have all that experience in cannabis drinks. We will do this hemp thing. And I tell you, it's just like hustle, hard work, relationships, and a lot of prayers and luck.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Milwaukee Uncut. If you love a good business story, we've got a couple of them for you today. And if you're interested in the Milwaukee music scene, this is a good one as well. We've got Gary Witt, founder of the PABST Theater Group, who started in the early 2000s with one theater that was burning a lot of cash and now has 6 venues and does over 800 shows a year, all in Milwaukee. We're also joined by J.R. Lockwood, the founder of Green Monké, who was in town from Toronto. Green Monké is one of the fastest growing hemp-infused beverages across the country now, really making waves in Wisconsin, and is the official hemp-infused beverage of the PABST Theater Group. She's got a really cool backstory, so it was fun to get both of them in the room at the same time. Before kicking the episode off, just want to thank our partners for making this show possible. Nicolay Law, Three Sheeps, and Drink Wisconsinably, and thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe if you haven't already. We've got a lot of great Milwaukee content coming up. Let's dive in with JR and Gary. And you're in from Toronto.
Yeah.
For first time in the city for a little while. What'd you think?
Oh my God, I haven't been here since I was a teen, and it's gorgeous. And I don't remember the people being this nice. They were like everybody. I didn't pay for a drink at all yesterday. People were buying me this and that. It was incredible. I don't know if they felt bad for me because I was from Canada, but people were so generous.
Why did you come here as a teen?
I lived in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, right on the border. And the best place to go is at least a 12-hour drive away. So my parents, we'd every summer pack up, head to somewhere new, and we came down to Milwaukee.
I thought you were going to say because the drinking age was 18, then it was probably
not.
It means a lot when a Canadian is saying how friendly the people are here.
Yeah, I would say so.
That's something. That's something.
Good point.
Someone from New York comes. We get some New York East Coast people coming on the show who can't believe it. Then I mean the bar's set pretty low. But when a Canadian says that,
I'm
we don't have a
down
hockey
with
team
Milwaukee.
Here, we don't have a hockey team though. It's not a good thing.
You know what? But your baseball team,
yeah,
it crushes.
And we love the Admirals.
It's a minor league team.
I do.
Sorry, guys.
I do. Shout out to the Admirals.
A Brewers game and like a beer and a hot dog. Oh, best thing ever.
All right, I'm into that.
Anything else surprise you on your return here?
I mean, it's like luxury now. Like I guess when I was like a teen, we weren't maybe hitting the like hot spots, but like my gosh, like it's fancy. It's fancy in Milwaukee. Like really, like the architecture is like so beautiful and restored. And
I think we have a tremendous growth in hospitality in the city. So, I mean, I came here in 2002, so it's like the number of restaurants in downtown and the surrounding areas, and also like the actual development of neighborhoods that have specific kind of like personalities is really important. So like going to River West or going to Bayview, Downer, East Side, Brady Street, they all have personalities. And that's when you begin to have a great city, is when it's not just like I'm going downtown, but like you can go to these places. Like I go to Louisville and you go to Bardstown Road, you're going to be kind of the arts community there and go to great record stores and cool places to buy clothes and stuff. So if I go to, Denver, I go to Cherry Creek, I kind of know what I'm getting in those areas. So,
yeah. And everywhere I went last night, like somebody would like take my phone, take my picture for me. Like I can't tell you how wonderful. There's so many photo
your credit
walks.
card. I don't know if you know this, but right now you get like a lot of charges on Amazon on your credit card.
How was the show last night?
Amazing. I got this T-shirt at the show last night. Steve Earle was legend, and like drinking a Green Monké and watching that show was such a vibe. I was probably high already before I got there because I was like just so high on Milwaukee. Milwaukee was
You were feeling good once you saw the Green Monké can.
Oh my gosh,
St. Kitts.
I freaked out at the St. Kate Hotel. I was like, my dream come true.
Well,
to
hopefully
see a
Greg
drink.
Marcus listens to this, and he'll know that
Thank you, Greg.
that fateful evening when he saw the Green Monkey in Vivarium. That was the beginning of not just the hotels, but also the theaters.
Yeah, just like, I mean, honestly, it's a little, I don't think I wanted to necessarily, this was where I was going to be as a, when I grew up.
Yeah.
This wasn't likely my career path when I grew up, but as a middle-aged PTA mom, this is like the coolest thing to happen to me. To go to a beautiful bar, see the Green Monkey drinks on the menu, and then walk into the beautiful PABST Theater. And your bartenders were so sweet to me. They didn't know who I was, but they just were so wonderful.
Yeah.
And when I said I was one of the co-founders of Green Monkey, they immediately rolled out like a red carpet, like out of nowhere. You know, they were just so hospitable and friendly. And
I mean, more importantly, how was the
Spencer
bathroom
and Dina, thank you.
Bathrooms are,
clean.
it's the PABST
Clean.
Theater. So
very clean.
that was built in 1895. So it's a National Historic Landmark. You really can't fuck with the bathrooms there because they're kind of like infrastructure that you can't change. So Riverside, not a National Historic Landmark, actually has basement bathrooms. Quite awesome. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, that's where your Instagrammable moments take place in other venues, but I think the Instagrammable moments are usually while the show is happening. That was pretty awesome.
See, the smart thing about bathrooms, the secret is that if bathrooms are really beautiful and they're really functional, then you avoid super long lines or dissatisfaction, which then gives people more time to spend at
concession.
Thank you, the bar.
Smart. Gary, you have a really interesting story. How did you end up here?
Well, I did the thing that we all should do, which is answer a phone call when someone you don't know calls you. You know, I mean, I was sitting, which is a weird thing. Back in 2002, I was working out of my house. I was in the record business, working for a record label in California, and I was working out of my house, and I was also at the same time managing a couple of different artists. And I got a phone call from this guy who I had no idea who he was, which was nice to not know him because he was kind of a famous guy up here. And, you know, he had mentioned he was looking to book an artist that I was managing for a party that he had at his house. And at the very end of the conversation, his last words to me were, and I bought this theater for $1 and I have no idea what to do with it. So, you know, that was kind of a flyer in it was like June of 2002. You know, it was, you know, I think that's to me, that's like a message to send to people, which is like, you don't know. I mean, we're talking about the same thing about your life. Like, you don't know what your outcome is for your life and what you're really necessarily going to do. I'm thinking probably the same thing for you guys here. I mean, you don't necessarily know. You kind of go where, you know, a little bit where the universe takes you sometimes. I've learned that a lot from some friends. My friend Jim James from My Morning Jacket is a big believer in that. And I think this is a perfect example that I pick up the phone from this guy I'd never talked to before. I'm in the record business. I know the record business is imploding in 2002 because it's a really shitty place to work. It's not very creative. It's run mostly by accountants. It's my nightmare. And you know, I took a trip to Milwaukee, and when I came to Milwaukee, when I came downtown to meet him, I drove past what at that time was the rebuilding of the Milwaukee Theater because it was kind of down to nothing and they're rebuilding. I thought, why am I coming back to Milwaukee to talk to somebody about the PABST Theater when they're rebuilding this theater? It's probably going to kick its ass. So originally when I sat down with Mike and his people, I really was thinking about headhunting for them and kind of considering to bring somebody in to kind of take it over and run it. But every person that I met wanted to turn it into a performing arts center, which is evil. That's horrible. That's just like bullshit shows that you would never see the amazing shows that we've done if it became another performing arts. It's like, highbrow stuff for people who are white, tight, and right. It would never see a young person, would never see a person of color. So I had, all along in my career in the record business, I had decided, my wife and I decided, we had 3 kids, never to move to New York or LA. There was a year or two where I worked in New York and traveled Monday to Thursday and came back on Fridays. And we just never wanted to move to New York or LA. Had options to do it, but we didn't do it. We wanted to raise our kids in the Midwest.
Were you from Chicago?
Yep, from Chicago originally. And, it was a big move to think about moving to LA, or moving to Milwaukee, but it was also important to be able to notice that at that point in time, where the universe was taking us was away from the music business, the record business, because it was imploding at that time. And it wasn't a place I wanted to be. And honestly, I'd never run a theater before, but I ran into the right person at the right time, who I can't say enough about how much Milwaukee misses people like Mike Cudahy, because, you're talking about people who became multimillionaires who had a tremendous focus as philanthropists on giving back to the city and making the city better. I mean, now you're surrounded by a bunch of people who would be counted as philanthropists who care more about their own image and don't necessarily have a real soul for just making the city better. And Mike being the kind of like extreme, the matching point for Mike and I is that we were both believers. And being a believer to me means that you're the person that dives off the diving board where there's no water in the pool, and your belief creates the water. So like Mike and I met at that, which also meant that we wanted to kill each other most of the time. But it would be great if the city had more people like that now. The people who are here, weren't just doing things, as a 3rd or 4th generation or whatever, person of wealth, but actually really cared about the city and tried to find ways to make it better. I mean, my perfect example of that now really is Greg Marcus. I mean, he's the one guy that I think of when I think of Greg. I think he's 4th generation Marcus, and he still cares so passionately about the company, and he and his father and family care so passionately about the city and really want to see it succeed. So that's why we were excited to see Greg carrying Green Monké. But so we came here and we took over the PABST Theater, and it was, it was doing, like $308,000 a year or something like that. It was losing $1.5 million a year. And we moved from that to now eventually owning or operating 6 venues and doing 800 shows a year and doing like $50 million in sales.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I also saw back in 2002, PABST was doing about 30 shows a year. Riverside was closed, and Turner Hall hadn't done anything for 60-ish years at that point.
Yeah, the ballroom itself was closed for a long time. We seem to be these weirdos that take over spaces. Because oddly enough, the full circle moment for me was on that very first day of driving to Milwaukee. I think I really had to go to the bathroom. There's the bathroom thing coming in because it's an hour and a half drive, man. But I drove past the Milwaukee Theater, which is now the High Life Theater again, and it was just being built. But for the next 20 years, it was basically, it really speaks to the fact that you can't just build places. It's that form and function thing. Like you have to really make it function. Like you have to operate it. So the full kind of like full 360 is that we eventually took over what then became the High Life Theater. And I think we have a really successful operation. We have a tremendous partnership with Marty Brooks, who, the arc of my existence in Milwaukee has watched a bunch of people who didn't belong to be in places, who were running things that didn't belong running things. Somehow people were kicked the fuck out of there, and they actually brought people in who deserved, who had, think of it, oh my God, Marty Brooks had a history of working Madison Square. I mean, he was in St. Louis. I mean, he ran all these big conference centers, convention centers. He had the perfect resume to do that job. And he replaced a guy who basically had like zero experience, who I think was a hockey referee. I'm not really sure, but he could skate backwards. So it's the same thing really when I think about the Marcus Center. The Marcus Center is in a better place now than it ever was. You have a guy in Kevin, who for years worked exactly in that world, in the Chicago Symphony, et cetera. So he had a great knowledge of it. Hey, before that, they had a guy named Paul Matthews, who was a politician, who got put in that role because they wanted to avoid running against him in some other job. How can you imagine that's where Milwaukee was years ago. So the ability, the same thing really for, for the current Visit Milwaukee staff. I mean, having someone at that level who actually has experience and has that passion to do it, replacing someone who had some kind of a phobia, even meeting with persons or people. We had a very unsuccessful world there. So that combination of Milwaukee growing and over all those years and having a successful convention and visitors bureau, especially Marty Brooks and his team spearheading a $456 million renovation. Yep. I think, that helps. He and Peggy together are bringing more conferences here. That doesn't help our business, but it helps our business overall because the live entertainment business needs to have a strong nighttime hospitality business around it to survive. One of the fun things we had happen to us during the pandemic, which there wasn't a lot of fun things, is I remember talking to the guy from Waffle House because everything was closed in America. We can get to this in a little bit, but we started this thing called NIVA, the National Independent Venue Association.
Right.
And when the U.S. government allowed restaurants to open back up again, the guy at the Waffle House, when thinking about our business, said, well, but if the concert business is closed, who will come and eat chicken and waffles at 2 a.m.,
right.
which is what made up about 45% of the business at that time. So our business operates.
We're always interlinked.
Yeah, our business operates really in tandem with the nighttime hospitality world. And I learned from Beth Weirick back in 2005 how important what it is that we do. It wasn't just selling tickets, but how we are impacting the city with what it is we do. So for me to see the nighttime hospitality world grow in our market, to see Adam build Loopy and Iris, to see our ex-sous chef, Paul Zirkle and Katie build Good Kind in Bayview, to see all these restaurants popping up, Birch, Dan, all these great restaurants where people can go and experience the city. Now we have something that rivals other cities. And I think that's a core strength. I don't even remember what your question was now, but that's a core strength to what the city is.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yesterday I was at the theater, and the employees couldn't say enough things about Gary, about how detail oriented he is, how he's always watching and making things better and fixing things. And I thought, it's also that personal touch that's really, really key to the success of anything. You can see the care, you can see the love, and obviously Gary's got passion.
Well, look, I think, we have, we do 800 shows a year. We have 350 employees, and the lesson that we hope that we carry forward is that, and it's a painful lesson, is that the only way to ever be any good at anything is to never feel like you're any good at anything. You've got to constantly be remeasuring and recutting and refocusing. It's one of the reasons why our backstage hospitality is so amazing. And, I went to Red Rocks a couple weeks ago. My wife was nice enough for us to go on a few days vacation to visit our son in Denver. And 2 of those days we went to Red Rocks and Mission Ballroom to see venues. So, nice. But I went backstage at Red Rocks and looked at their hospitality, and shout out to the Red Rocks guys. Their hospitality wasn't as good as ours in Milwaukee. So.
We talked to Fortune Femster when she was here, the comedian, at Summerfest, and interviewed her. And unprovoked, she said she loves Milwaukee and she loves the Riverside because you have a backstage barista.
Yeah.
There. We didn't prompt her at all. It was just out. What do you love about Milwaukee? She specifically brought that up, so that can speak to that. JR, let's get your backstory. How did you end up starting?
Well, I love
this
how
amazing THC drink company.
I have to say, I love what Gary was saying. Sometimes you just answer the call, right? And I just answered a call. My husband's best friend, Pat Gleason, who I think you guys have all met or talked to, but Pat showed up on my dock one day and said, "I got this this marijuana business. Do you want? And are you busy?" And I'm like, "What? Sounds like exactly what I should be doing right now. So let's do that." Yeah. And finding out that edibles were becoming legalized in California and Canada, Massachusetts, we were like, that's what we want to do. We want to drink weed. We want to stop drinking so much alcohol. That was also because we're both Irish. It wasn't like we're going to stop, but to reduce. And so this was the perfect this was the perfect business for me to get into. I didn't realize how much I loved hospitality. I love branding. I love product development. I just didn't know how beautiful and how fulfilling this would end up being. But all I did was say yes to something that seemed pretty out there for a PTA mom of 2 small kids.
Sounds a little like Breaking Bad to me. You were like cooking up THC in your RV and in your underwear in the desert.
I'm always
Is there
like
a desert
making
in
drinks.
Toronto?
Yeah, I'm always like making drinks and being like, not with THC, but like, this would be better if it was a THC drink though. Like pandemic vibes, you know, a little bit of pineapple Ciroc and a little bit of coconut sparkling water, and I was like, oh, this would be so much better, like as with THC in it. So we made a skinny pina colada. Come on up to Canada to have it anytime you want. It's my jam.
Yeah.
But like we started these so that anybody could drink them. They have like no sugar in them or very little sugar. Wanted them to be like, I wanted my friends who are diabetics to be able to have a drink with me, you know, and like we're aging, and this is kind of like the perfect thing to be social, to have fun. And I don't know, it's just been like a labor of love. It's just been, and like yesterday was like love come to roost. It was like what a day yesterday was.
So, I mean, it's pretty incredible in such a saturated, difficult market that you've been able to break through and get in places all over the country and win awards. And now you're in hundreds of places in Wisconsin, kind of very, very quickly. I would say, how have you managed to do that? What were the kind of biggest hurdles and biggest breaks you've gotten?
Well, I mean, we've pivoted. We started in California in 2022 in like the regulated cannabis market, and realized that nobody who was walking into a dispensary wanted a low dose drink. And we thought, oh my God, what are we going to do? And so then this whole, like this hemp drink thing, we were like, okay, great. We have all that experience in cannabis drinks. We will do this hemp thing. And I tell you, it's just like hustle, hard work, relationships, and a lot of prayers and luck. And eventually met some great people. Like the Johnson Brothers team is just like, thank God for them.
Your distributor here.
Yeah, our distributor, like the Johnson Brothers, they just know what they're doing, and they've been an incredible partner. They are like Todd Johnson. Like, thank you.
Look, a big part of their success, I would speak to, is the fact that, look, the THC drink world is kind of like the wild, wild west.
Yeah,
and
it is.
I think it's important to have a company that actually has like very like strong and consistent specifics to their beverages, because a lot of people might say it's 5 milligrams and it might actually be 10 or 15 or 20. And that you lose your base if people come in to try that unexpectedly and they get an opposite result. I mean, imagine if you were drinking, you know, an IPA and instead of it being 5.6, it was like 12 or something like that, you know, and and you're on your second one and you're like, you know, getting pulled
stumbling over.
Well, and that's Gary, that's why I designed the cans like this. I do not want to do that to someone. I don't want someone to pick up a can and realize that, oh, this has got THC in it. So we did this like psychedelic can. You've got the THC symbol right in the front. I really wanted people, like, I want people to be safe, because there's nothing worse than, like you said, this, that unregulated piece of it is just totally unacceptable to do that to someone.
You know, the reality is that there's an educational thing that has to happen in the beverage world when you bring something like this, and especially in Wisconsin, because you're not just putting a bunch of beverages next to each other and saying, you know, you got this IPA next to it. So it's like, you have to actually teach people. And I think that's one of the things that our partnership, why it's been successful so far, is because we both worked really hard to be able to not just throw a can into a cooler, but to actually challenge people to think about it, to do tastings. We had, I mean, in the very beginning, we had everybody wearing these really cool high t-shirts.
Oh my God, they were so
They were very cool. You know, we had our first show at High Life that we featured was with a band called Goose. That was incredible. We had like sold out show. It was fantastic. Cool. So everybody kind of got involved, and you, I think the education of your team for our bar stuff, because a lot of our, you know, when you go to venues, a lot of times those people are kind of like transient and that they're not the same people you'll see the next week. Not in our world. We have people who've been there 10, 12, 13, 15, 17. We have a 20-year person that like this week is celebrating 20. And these are all people who know and understand what the bar world is like. And I like to think of it as these are people who know how to create make best friends with the customer. And they come in and get them out of there in 13 seconds because you got to serve people, but they're trusted bartenders. So their ability to be able to share with people their knowledge that your team had given them was critical for us. I mean, I don't want to quote the number, but our sales on the Goose shows were like absolutely insane. What we sold.
Yeah, it was pretty. It was pretty incredible.
Yeah, and I think that's
it's like the best product to have at a Goose show. You know, like that. It really went hand in hand in the sampling. Like you guys have been so amazing to help us educate people because you're absolutely right. This is we going like door to door, house to house. Teaching people about THC drinks and them knowing their limit, knowing like not to mix it with alcohol is also a thing, which your bartenders are really on. It's like the education piece and finding people's dose. 5 milligrams is a bit too strong for me, so I only had like half of mine last night. It was amazing. Yeah. But other people they need 2 or 3. Like and you don't know. Go low, go slow.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that the interesting thing is that when people think about like, concerts as a tool to be able to break, and raise awareness for a beverage as an example, I mean, we're like an introduction to people where they don't do the norm. When they go to a retailer store or something, what they do is they do the thing they do at restaurants also, which is that they just choose the things that they like. And the dangerous thing to do in your life in everything that you do in your life overall is to always travel the same road because your journey becomes the same.
I love
you
that.
never see anything different. So quite often like concerts, the concert experience is a moment in time where people choose things to drink or eat that they might not normally choose. And then that changes, the one door opens and it changes the way that they choose to drink from that point forward. So I'm excited because I think about like our core customers, like 30% of our buyers are from 90 miles away or further. For those shows, those Goose shows, we had people from 35 states that came to experience that. When we do our Widespread Panic shows in October, we have buyers from 49 states that'll be coming to Milwaukee, and they're going to experience Green Monké in a way, for them, that's like, this is going to be an amazing takeaway for us to be able to work on.
Yeah.
So I'm excited because it is, I think it just speaks to me, it's almost similar to what we're doing right now. I think the podcast world is a great place to introduce products to people in the marketing sense because it's not a place where you're being hit over the head with a David Gruber billboard. Sorry, David Gruber. Hashtag David Gruber.
We're just hitting you with Russell Nicolet's beautiful mug right here.
The beard.
That's my guy. We ran into him last night at St. Kate.
That's my guy too.
Did he have a Green
likes the
Monké,
orange
though?
passion fruit.
He did. He did actually have a Green Monké.
All right, I have even more respect for him now.
He had more Green Monkeys than JR and I did at that dinner. Yeah, I had an NA beer. People already think I'm kind of stoned because I have a laid back demeanor. So when I have a Green Monké, like I'm zoned out, and I was about to go. About to go to the Brewer game and try and socialize with people. So I like Green Monké kind of toward in the evening when I'm not or on a Sunday.
Yeah.
But that blue raspberry, I'm excited to try the orange cream. We just got that in.
The orange cream.
As you were saying, I do like how they're only 25 calories.
Doesn't spike
and
your
no
blood sugar.
Because like a lot of the other companies and stuff people gave to us, 200-300 calories, 60% of your daily sugar intake. So I appreciate you having having those options.
It's supposed to be. For me, it's like I wanted it to be guilt free, like the idea that you could have everything you wanted and no guilt, and so that no hangover, no like low calories, and you're not going off your diet because I'm always on a diet.
I think there's also there's a real, it gets written about a lot, but we experience it at a venue level. There's a real explosion in the NA world of just, and we feel this in Wisconsin even more because, let's be honest, beer sales were just incredible, but a lot of that has changed in that there's a real explosion in people wanting NA options, whether it be a beer. I mean, I was golfing the other day and on Friday and I had an Athletic Brewing, NA. Tastes exactly like a great IPA. It's like all the great taste with none of the hangover, which is exactly what we wanted from Green Monké, because you have this scenario where people can go to a show, they can experience the greatness of the show, they can get a buzz and not wake up the next morning feeling like shit. So
That's called Monday with Steve Earle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So Tuesday's great.
How did you guys initially come together? And Gary, did you have a THC drink in there previously, or were you vetting different ones out to put across your theaters?
So we did not have a THC drink previously. I think that was really the move when we first began our relationship, was our real move as we were beginning to pivot more towards NA options in our venues. And again, like even those things it's more important to be able to sign those correctly and to be able to explain those correctly in our venues, because people have an expectation because they see our coolers. And it's like, everyone who sells beverages has like an investment in the marketing of the can itself as being what it is, because that brand, there's tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars invested in that brand overall. So really I think the turning point for us is that we found a company that was as interested as we were in the journey of doing it, meaning that, it gave us the opportunity to say, like, don't just put it out there as a partnership and say, like, it's going to sell. But they had a strong understanding of the fact that we needed to work to do it. And we are freakish workers in relation to that. And that when we have partnerships like this, we don't just put it out there and see, well, it didn't work out. Like, we're invested in the idea of trying to find a way to make it sell. And that, honestly, I think that comes from, especially after my experience in Denver, where, music if you were going to drink blood as a vampire of a concert promoter, you'd be drinking blood of people in Denver because they love music and live entertainment. But here, we have to work harder. We're Milwaukee. We're not, we're not Chicago. We're not Minneapolis. We have to work harder with everything that we do. So I think we have kind of that built-in instinct of everything we do, we have to try harder to succeed in Milwaukee. And I think that really played a role in how we succeeded in working with Green Monké together, because I think we knew that we weren't just going to put it out there, but that we were going to work to be able to make it successful.
And Gary, you're somebody who takes like calculated risks and wants to I liked earlier you talked about always growing and always trying to, like, if you're doing the same thing twice, I think it's hard to find venue owners like yourself that are willing to take, try something new like this. But we did get a lot of experience with we did one theater in Savannah, Georgia, at the End Market Arena, and had very good success. But they don't have as much live music, and these drinks just go really, really well together. It's a perfect match.
Craziest or best stories that come to mind of bands and acts coming through?
Craziest. I think people's perception of backstage and bands on the road is much. They think it's kind of crazier than what it actually is, like riders and things like that. Actually, it's very much a business, and then B, it's also like a lifestyle care opportunity where, the people who take care of themselves on the road and things like that, like they tend to succeed and tour longer. So like our goal, and by the way, in having a barista backstage, because let's be realistic, if we were in 1980, it would be like the Eagles doing lines over there on the table.
Yeah.
But right now, coffee, is really kind of like the drug of the generation.
The new cocaine is coffee.
Yeah, exactly. so having
that's a really exciting answer. That was
yes,
exactly
it is.
what I was hoping for.
So no, but
Crazy.
But the important thing though is, I could get to a couple, but
we need one before you leave.
The important thing is the idea of, like, we're kind of ambassadors of the city of Milwaukee. So when artists come to our venues, they get there on a bus. Quite often they don't really see anything else in the city. Sometimes if they're adventurous and they've been around a while, they go and they walk or do whatever. But a lot of times we might bear their only impression of Milwaukee. So we have to work really hard to make that impression a really good one. A, to get them to want to come back again, but B, to have them also become ambassadors of Milwaukee as they go to other cities. And I think we've done that in many ways. I mean, the one way to do it is to have amazing hospitality backstage. So having a tremendous chef, a sous chef, a pastry chef at our venues, having a barista, like we were in the very beginning. And my first time coming to Milwaukee, the thing that made us, my wife Susan and I, decide to move to Milwaukee was finding the Altera on Prospect. Because being in the record business and traveling around the country, like cities that were cool were cities that had great coffee shops in the late 90s and early 2000s. So finding Altera, as amazing as they were back in the early 2000s, was incredible. And now we've evolved in our world. We have like a tremendous partnership with the guys at Discourse, who I think really, really are on the cutting edge of not only what great coffee is, but also great NA drinks as well. So providing that for artists to come backstage is like an incredible experience. So
But what's the craziest experience?
What's that?
But what's the craziest experience?
I know, the craziest
Like,
thing.
give us the goods. I am like, I'm a very sheltered person. I need to.
So this isn't super crazy, but it's kind of interesting at the same time, is that our first Chris Cornell show, a singer from Soundgarden who passed away years ago, was sold out at the PABST. And he was supposed to go on at 9:15. At 9:45, we got a call saying that he was still in the limo to his tour manager driving from Chicago, which is incredibly frustrating to us at that time. And didn't find it to be as caring as I thought he would have been for his audience. So it was one of those rare moments where I wasn't super happy, with an artist coming backstage and everything. And I would say this, that, he got up on stage and he did an a cappella version of Nothing Compares to You on that night, that after he killed himself, after he died years later, became like the number one song on Spotify and iTunes for like 2 months. And it was recorded live at the PABST Theater.
That's where he did it?
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. It was really, really beautiful. Yeah, in the artists who passed away segment of our career, we also were the show scheduled when the singer from Stone Temple Pilots was due to come to Milwaukee and passed away in Minneapolis, who I would have to say that Scott, he was actually really a great guy. Like we did shows with him previous to that. My contribution to all those things would be to tell you that at that level of being in the business and being that successful, it's really hard. Mentally, it's really hard. Physically, it's really hard. The demands on you are really difficult. People pulling you in different directions. In his scenario, Scott Weiland's scenario, like nobody wanted him to do a bunch of solo albums that were really cool and weird. They all just wanted him to go out there and sing some really shitty Stone Temple Pilots songs. Because that's where they all made money. I avoided the real crazy. So
that's all right. You can punt that maybe some other time when you come back. But how about your favorite show you've ever put on? Does one stand out to you?
I don't really have it. People ask me that all the time. I don't really have one. We've done so many, to be honest. I mean, there's just so many moments. The beginning moments are quite often the best because, a lot of people, I mean, you said some very nice things about us in the very beginning, but trust me, my wife and I first moved to Milwaukee from Chicago, like I was just dying for someone to think that they actually knew what it was that we did back in the beginning. Because, we were just aching to get people to know that we had these great venues, we were doing these cool shows. So for me, some of the signature moments of like our first shows where we broke the mold of the PABST Theater being this weird white Titan right creepy place for like jazz and classical only and ballet to take place. The first David Byrne show we did was amazing. The first Bright Eyes show that we did there was astounding. The first Sufjan Stevens show we did there was amazing. Merle Haggard, our first Merle Haggard show was incredible. Like Merle was like just fucking brilliant. It was, and a funny story is that we had someone working for us at the time who might have had a little bit too much to drink that evening. Was the way kind of back in those days. And we almost lost her on Merle's bus heading back to California. We did physically take her off the bus. So, yeah. But like those beginning shows at the PABST, when we set the tone for who we were, we took a risk. We did $10 shows there where we curtained off the upper level. We had amazing bands like Spoon and the National, M Ward come and play their first ever shows in the city of Milwaukee. All those shows were all $10 shows. Like, there was risky to do that stuff, but it was really incredible. And we really, when I first came to Milwaukee, I burned all the photos of the PABST Theater empty because they used to market it like a museum. And we decided that the only pictures that would come out of the PABST would be photos of the PABST filled with people enjoying themselves and experiencing it. So all those shows were really incredible. We took over the Riverside. Our first show was the Moody Blues. It was like October 28th, 2005. And like, that was amazing. But what was really amazing, we did Belle and Sebastian there, a band that never had a really radio hit. We did I think it was like a $20 show or something like a $25 ticket. And I remember my partner, Matt Berenger, and I just standing in back, rocking with that show,
awesome. Watching
2,480 people just like enjoying that beauty of that and thinking like, man, the city has it can do really great things. So all those things were pretty special, to be honest. And the relationships of, that you create with, with people, who are on the road, who are in the same world as us. I mean, we're working. We're all working back there. It's not about like seeing someone famous and asking for a photo. In my 23 years of doing this, I've never asked for a photo of any artist. I've never asked for an autograph. So you'll never see a wall full of pictures of my partner, Matt, or I. Yeah. We've never collected any of that shit because it's enough to collect it up here. The experience and the time that you spend together and the real like forming of relationships, because hopefully the people who understand the purity of what you're trying to do, I think they get it. And I think they know that it's a real moment for them where they could be themselves because they're like last night for Steve Earle, our chef Kevin and Julie and Esmeralda served an amazing meal for Steve and Lurie backstage. And, they had nothing but amazing things to say about the food they got in the barista. And like, those are the moments where the artist is able to kind of sit down and go like, I can actually be me. I don't have to worry about what I look or like or say in these moments, and just be a person and relax and not just be on. So, yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of favorites. Like the Oasis show we did was the last Oasis show, that they played in a theater in America. And they had just played the United Center the day before, and they played the Riverside. And it was fucking amazing. It was cool. Fucking amazing. It was incredible. Yeah. Yeah.
Any very like weird or interesting facts that would surprise people about any of the venues?
So I think this is interesting to me, is that when we first took over the Riverside, we had to spend like close to $2 million renovating it and cleaning it, because it really been an abused and closed. And the funny thing is that if you walk into the lobby of the Riverside, when we first took it over, we thought that we had these kind of like brass lights in the lobby in the opening of the Riverside. And the funny thing is that when Jose, who runs our cleaning company, went in there to clean them, we found out they were glass lights. But for decades, the Riverside, of course, allowed smoking. They used to show like movies and boxing and things, and I'll imagine like 2,400 people back in the day, like smoking, and all the nicotine carried and stuck on those glass lights, and they're all just kind of there. So
were you able, like, can you take, like, are they still that color then?
No, they're beautiful. We clean everything. They're beautiful clean glass. So
can't believe that.
Interesting story about the Riverside is during the pandemic, we had 2 feet of water downstairs in the basement. So working with the Zilber folks, there was over a $2 million restoration of the basement, because every building that was along the river, by the way, you'll notice that some buildings that are currently on the river are, are still impacted by the floods during that time period. So, not to be the not happy times part of the podcast, but I think the city's going to have a real shout out to the mayor if he's actually listening here. We'll have a real rude awakening when we celebrate the Riverwalk as a city, but the city has never accrued any funding for repairs of the Riverwalk over the years, and the Riverwalk is leaking into the buildings that lean along the Riverwalk all up and down.
I did not know that.
And all the building owners are having to bear the cost of doing those repairs of the silt line beneath the Riverwalk and the water leaking in. It's going to be, for every building, it's going to be anywhere between $2 and $10 million for repairs. So you'll probably read about this a year from now when buildings start to close and people, the city's not really thinking about this. This would be a good thing for Alderman Bauman to think about if he's in his downtown area, to be a champion of and to kind of take it on overall.
Yeah. And ending on a good note, as just Milwaukee-based questions, what are some of your favorite hidden gem spots around the city to go to? Could be restaurants, coffee shops, bars.
Well, so number
venues.
one is like the easiest thing of all, which is that we have the greatest fucking county park system. Like, one of the reasons why people move to this area, people check it off, is the amazing county park system that we have. So my comment in talking about that is always to back it up by saying that, as an example, the county gets $165 million a year less now than they got 20 years ago. The county used to have the county park
Adjusted
system
for inflation.
No, I'm
Just
saying
straight
that
up?
it's because the state starves the city of funding. The shared revenue that comes back from the state is lower now than it was in 2001. So, I mean, if Wisconsin was a boat, Milwaukee is the engine. So the state, because of the political ramifications of one group wanting to be in charge over another group, and the city of Milwaukee being deemed as being democratic because of the way that it votes, the state of Wisconsin has, at a capital level, has always starved the city of revenue, and they starve the county of revenue also. The county parks, which is one of our greatest jewels and assets, used to have over 1,000 employees, and now it has under 200 employees. So the act of actually taking care of the parks is being, because they work so hard and they try to do such a good job of what it is that they do, they're punished because they should really be calling out and asking for more ways to get funding, but they find ways to do. They underwrite it. They find sponsors to come in. And the reality is that I talked to David Crowley and I said, you should really just sell off a couple of parks or sell off a couple of golf courses and see how the state, reacts to that, because that's the dreaded financial straits that the county is in overall as far as the county parks. And look, we count on the county parks as a jewel to be able to bring people here to move, because they're certainly not moving here because of our great school system. The school system suffers because of what we had talked about prior to starting the podcast, the tremendous impact of poverty on the city that began in the 80s and 90s when jobs left the city, and the people who were here doing these high-paying, low-skilled jobs remained. And their punishment for staying here was a lack of employment, which eventually leads to all the problems that we have today, which at the end of the funnel is our school system, which is why people might live in the city of Milwaukee and then perhaps move to Wauwatosa if they want to have children, because they don't necessarily want their kids to go to the school system, which is horrible. But we as a city have to someday wake up and look at the core of what all of our problems are, which is poverty. When you see a person that has cancer that's lost all their hair because of chemotherapy, you don't say, oh man, the best thing that could happen to you would be to grow your hair back. No, it'd be like to not have cancer anymore. So the cancer that we have is poverty. And until we deal with that, we have 22% of our population that's under the poverty level. We're a tremendous city because of our diversity, but we're weighed down by the tremendous poverty that we have. And it has to be something that people begin, like I'm doing with you now, begin talking about on a regular basis. I would love nothing less, nothing more than hearing the mayor not make the word poverty sound like a bad thing all the time. He needs to bring it up and look at it as a solution, and then maybe raise his hand and look around the rest of the Midwest and realize that he has friends in Cincinnati who are mayors, or in Cleveland that are mayors, or Pittsburgh, or Detroit, or Chicago who are mayors, or St. Louis, because they all had the same thing happen to them during the era of losing manufacturing jobs, and they're all in the exact same situation. And then they're all punished for having the poverty and violence and crime that they have when it was something that was inflicted on them. Sorry to bring this Happy Time podcast down to this. Edit this all out. That's what you can do.
I mean, it's something people should be aware of, though.
Yeah, look, I think so. It's just the reason why instead of just selling shit, like I try to talk about these things when I'm in a public setting, because when you have a role as a public persona, as being here for the 23 years that I am, I learned from people, especially people like Beth Weirick, who ran the downtown bid for 25 plus years, that, we are the sum of what we do. Like there's, we do something that's greater than just sell tickets. The very beginning of our business of starting the PABST Theater Group, we never began with the philosophy of selling tickets. We always began with the idea of developing community. Once you grow and develop community, you naturally sell tickets. You do all those other things.
Yeah.
Then you have the ability to partner with Green Monké, and you have the ability to actually take a partnership with friends like this and be able to rise to the next level. I hope we can be their launching pad for the entire Midwest. I'd like nothing less and nothing more than seeing my friends at First Avenue and the group that they have there partner with the folks at Green Monké, because I think they're even better at what they do than what we do, and they'll succeed in Minnesota and have a great marketplace there.